Greetings, brothers and sisters from the four corners of the world. I hope everyone is having a blessed day in their prospective lands or evening, wherever you may be. All right. Okay, for this lesson, we have a special. Okay. and usually I don't go into the pagan, what they would call holidays, is because, I believe that we should be, as believers, we should be a bit more past this level. Not, you know, saying anything for those towards those who just coming into the truth, maybe recently within a year or 2, 3 years. But there's more importance at at this time, right? But I thought to do this lesson because when doing of new oil lesson, what I found was that so many things intertwine with not only the celebration of new oil and what they would call Thanksgiving, what some would call the dedication, the Feast of Dedication. Okay, and so many things were intertwined in the scriptures there that a lot of people might not have caught, and maybe there's some things that people didn't understand prior to this lesson. So I thought I'd share and you know and break down the obvious plus a little bit more of the scriptures where people tend not to recognize how the Most High feels about what we would call in the world, what the carnal beings would call in the world, holiday traditions. Okay. So, with that being said, let's begin. This is called a clause with Satan. Now, we're going to start not with Jeremiah 10, but we are going to start with Galatians chapter 4. Okay, Galatians chapter 4. You may hear me say Yeshua, referring to Christ, which means Savior. Okay, moving forward. Galatians 4 and 16, Paul said, am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth? Now, we find a lot of times, more often, that when people come into the truth, there's this barricade against Christmas, right? It's just, oh, how dare you take away Christmas? How dare you say that, you know, um, that Christmas isn't in the Bible or God doesn't love giving children gifts, right? Um, my goodness, and so as we move forward into this lesson, I just wanted to start with I hope and pray that everyone receives this lesson well. It is in no way to offend anyone, but it is to correct our errors and ignorance of those who might have celebrated this, uh, what the world calls holy day, right? Or holiday. So I pray that I'm not becoming an enemy. I pray that it is fruitful um, to those who may be seeking the truth. Okay. And for even those who are just curious, right? And then Galatians, or excuse me, Colossians. We'll start with Colossians 2 and 8. Now, scripture says, beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world and not after Christ. Now, I believe that everyone has a wonderful gift from the Most High God, right? There's a gift that the Most High God gives us, okay? Christ teaches us the way, the truth, and the life within using that gift. And then the Holy Spirit helps elevate and quicken us and define that gift with more knowledge and wisdom and faith in the gift and so forth and so forth. All of course, to bring glory back unto the Most High. So my gift, one of my gifts is reading, right? Is reading, and of course I'm an English professor, so I do understand the Most High has taken me through understanding of how to break down words and teach people. And if you've watched any of my lessons, you can see how I break down words and teach you all. So, um, oftentimes scripture is so, what would be a good term to say? Scripture is really fought over a lot amongst all the believers in the world. And everyone has this doctrine, everyone has that idea, everyone has this opinion. Okay, everyone has this preference, what they may or may not like. But the scripture is quite clear in 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 respects to it saying, "Do not let any man spoil you." Okay, through philosophy and vain deceit. Now I've went over this before, but philosophy. Let's look at this word. Sophistry, philosophy, the love of wisdom. You hear a lot of reading and different things, right? Now let's check it out. And philo just means love, right? Philosophy is knowledge, learning, scholarship, scholarly works, body of knowledge. Okay. The pursuit of wisdom, systematic investigation. Okay. Like I said, philo means love or loving. Okay. And then it goes into a form saying the discipline of dealing in rational speculation or contemplation. All right. And that goes into science. And you can see occult knowledge, right? So philosophy deals with what? The pursuit of occult knowledge and wisdom, learning, right? Okay. And then we can even get into the esoteric and all that stuff, but that's exactly what it's talking about. And even some of the basics, right? Because of words, for example, spelling is a spell, curse words is a curse, right? And different things. You say morning, good morning, right? Morning either means to cry, and you know, so there's different things even within the language that a lot of people don't understand, right? And so this is why I break it down in this manner. Now, philosophy, it was told to us through the Holy Scriptures, don't let any man spoil you through philosophy, knowledge, proclaiming that they have knowledge, proclaiming that they've learned so much, their scholarly works, okay, their pursuit of wisdom, their systematic investigations, right? And I'm going to break this down even more as we get in the lesson. And so everyone has the idea of them knowing or believing that they know something when they actually don't. Right? Let's Check out this word spoil. All right. Now, spoil goes to this word plunder. It also goes to mean rob. Okay. To rob you, to plunder you. Okay. To strip you of any proper belief that you would have of the Bible with what? Their philosophy and vain deceit. This doesn't just go for Christians as well, and the whole paganism and Constantine, you know, error and things of that nature. This also goes for Islam and, you know, different things of that nature, Buddhism and Hinduism and so forth and so forth. Okay, but we were commanded not to allow someone's so called knowledge bamboozle you and have you in awe to the point where you are following after traditions rather than following after Christ, right? So simply, if you're going to ask someone or family member or friend, hey, why is it that you celebrate Christmas? You know, can you find anywhere in the Bible that Christ actually celebrated Christmas or that anyone did? Usually they don't care. Usually they talk about immediately they'll talk about the three wise men, which okay, let me go and break that scripture right now. Now, when Yeshua was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem. Now, I went over this as well. Those wise men were sorcerers, they were magicians, they were not men coming to do Christ well. They were coming for evil intentions. But someone who doesn't read, maybe have not had the knowledge of that, they wouldn't understand. Okay. Now, going back, so that is also vain deceit, believing that, oh, the three wise men, and all right, that has been dismissed. So now that's a tradition of men. Okay, that's a tradition because nowhere in the Bible does it say to give gifts under a tree, right? Or what do they have the ugly sweater days or the secret Santas, and these are all traditions of men. These are all after the rudiments of the world. And if you didn't understand what rudiments is, it's just the principles, it's the things that they hold dear to them. Okay. It's their orderly arrangements. Now, that principle, all right, fundamental constituent, all right. Now, check this out. I will show you rudiment. Now, we're looking at rudiment going to early training, first experience, beginning, first principle. Now, look at this word principle. Principle is the origin. So, after the rudiment, after the origins of the world, this is why it's so important when people say, oh, well, why does it matter? You know, if it's just something good, well, it's not good. It's the origin of what it comes from, right? The origin. So, for example, saying why does it matter is almost like saying Why did God destroy the world with the flood after the fallen angels did so much evil? Well, it was the origin of why they fell and what it led to. What did it lead to? It led to so much sin. It led to the division of men and women. The women were wanting to be with the fallen, right? It led to people kidnapping people. It led to people torturing people. It led to fighting and killing and all kinds of atrocities, right? The origin is the most important thing. The origin is the most important thing behind the foundation. When we all get judged by Christ, they're going to ask us, why did you start? Why did you start your journey to get into the kingdom of heaven? And then they're going to look at how well we did during the journey. And then they're going to look at, did we examine ourselves to see if we kept that same passion, that same origin as to why we started to get all the way into the end, to run the race, right? So the origin is what holds everything together, the very beginning. We see this even with what? The origin of all of us is Adam and Eve. That is the origin of man and woman. Origins matter. Do not let anyone once again deceive you and tell you that it doesn't. Because if, for example, if you say origins don't matter, then you're gonna have a big problem. Even from, I mean, Genesis is just another word for what? Origin, right? Genesis means beginning. So right there, the Most High was telling you, he always says there's a beginning and there's an end. He is the beginning, he is the origin, and he is also the ending, right? He's the Alpha and the Omega. Okay. So origins matter. Origins matter. Okay. Now, lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the traditions of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ. Christ didn't do any ugly sweaters. Christ didn't do any secret Santas. Christ did none of these things. So you tell me, where is this that Christ did and the apostles did? Where did the prophets do this? Right? Anyone? Where did Noah do this? Where did Enoch do this? Where did Melchizedek do this? Did Adam and Eve do this? Where is it? Because it doesn't exist, right? Now it's easy for me to take someone to Leviticus 23. That's easy, right? But there's some people out there who want a breakdown, right? And think about this, right? If origins didn't matter, why do you want to keep the Ten Commandments so bad, or the Ten Guidances? If origins didn't matter, right? We hold this so dearly to us because it is the foundation, it is the beginning of a law to hold everyone accountable, starting with who? The children of Israel, right? Hmm. Holding everyone accountable to 10 basic principles, 10 basic origins, right, of how to go about life, right? So, yes, origins matter. Now, so I'm telling you the truth, brothers and sisters. I want nothing to no harm to anyone. I pray you take this lesson for what it is, edification and love. All right. So let's begin with Jeremiah 10, 1 through 5. Now, everyone knows this scripture more than likely, but let's break it down because I'm quite sure you may not really know the scripture as well as you think. Okay. It reads, Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, Learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. For the heathen are dismayed at them, for the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, and the work of the hands of the workman with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold, they fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. They are upright as a palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good. Now, it's quite clear the cutting of the tree, the decking it with, silver and gold. That's quite clear. But let's go through these words. Now, when it says learn, right? It says learn not the way. Hmm. That means to teach. Hmm. So you're not supposed to teach these things to your family. That's one. Okay. Two, what is this way? Okay. There is a course of life. There are actions. There are customs that people do that you're not supposed to follow. Hmm. So, whatever certain people do, you're not supposed to be teaching them to your family, your loved ones, neither yourself, and you're not supposed to be following them. Hmm. Now, a heathen would be someone who doesn't serve the Most High. And some people also call pagans heathens, but you know, sometimes people use this for Gentiles. Gentile is just a person who doesn't serve the Most High. Okay, in some sense. All right. And then it says, be not dismayed, usually saying don't fear, right? Now, why would there be fear from putting up a tree? This is where origins matter. So there is something behind this tree that has a frightening and terrifying origin to the point that the Most High said, don't be afraid of it. Did anyone ever catch that? Hmm. The origin of this tree is demonic. Something is wrong here. Now look what it says. Dismay, to break it down, either literally by violence or confusion and fear. So there was a spirit that came behind people. Well, there was a spirit that came behind people to break them down through confusion, fear, and violence. And what do you see every winter solstice? Killings, suicides, you name it. It's the spirit behind Christmas, right? Hmm. and I'll show you. Got three videos to share with y'all. Okay, it's the origins that matter, brothers and sisters. It's the origins. Do not be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. So the Most High was saying, I'm going to show them some things where what they're looking for is not proper. Verse 3, for the customs of the people are vain. Now what are the customs? Look what this says. Appointed, an ordinance, a statute. The customs. Look what it says. Custom, the coming together. What do they do for Christmas? They come together. Hmm. Enactment. I want I want to make sure I got this right now. All right. Let's check out enactment. Now, I'm looking at the root word, right, of enactment. Enact. The act of the act the part of, represent in performance. A decree established, sanctioned in law. And you know, in the Western world, Christmas is law. You're like frowned upon, right? You're called a Grinch, right? If you don't celebrate Christmas, right? And and I'll even share with you what that means as well, right? But enacting the customs, represent in performance. That means do the things they do. Ugly sweater day, secret Santas, giving gifts, eating their foods and stuff. I'm gonna show you the food is included. It's included. Okay. And so for the customs, let's even go and look all through, right? Custom. Custom, a habitual practice, either of an individual or a nation or a community. Practice, clothes, dress, tradition, familiarity, a custom, look, costume. Let, let, let's let's look this up. Right? Costume, a style of dress, distinctive action, appearance, arms, furniture, habit, usage. So yes, certain things being used or brought out in this time. You know, they got they usually have like the eggnog out for the Christmas time, right? Why is it only that time of the year? Right? They know what they're doing, right? It's a custom. Why can't you have eggnog in summertime? Why it's gotta be okay, brothers and sisters? That's a custom. Don't be fooled. Look what it is. Look what it also says. The practice of buying goods at some particular place. See that? While they have Christmas sales, Halloween specials, pumpkin. All this is for that time, hoping people will indulge in that action. Hmm. Can you say adding sin upon sin? Let's look at this word tradition. Tradition, statement, belief, or practice handed down from generation to generation. Transmission, presentation, handing over. They say belief or practice based on Mosaic law, which Most High is against traditions. Look what it says: tradition, a delivering up, surrender, a handing down, a giving up. What? That means you're giving up on God, on the Most High, to just do with what everyone else does. That's what tradition means. To deliver your hand over. Now we know, and it's going from that word transmission. Trans means to cross over or to go over. So they're giving us the word transdar, which means to give over. You're giving over your belief, your energy, your rights to say, I serve this deity. All right. Now, what deity would that be? Now, we know, I don't want you to take a look at this, right? I call this a clause with Satan. Now, obviously, we know Santa spells Santa. You take the N and place it at the N, now you get Satan. Now, we understand who Satan is, but do you understand what clause is? Right? Clause is a stipulation, okay? It's the end, a closing, a termination, the end of a sentence. Now, this is not a speaking or writing sentence, this is a judgment sentence, okay? Now, let's look up this word stipulation. Stipulation is a commitment or activity to do something, a promise, a bargain. It is a covenant, okay? To engage, exact, bargain. So now to stipulate, stipulation, it's a condition, it's a clause. So what does this mean? Santa Claus. It means a clause, a commitment to Satan during this time, a commitment to engage with Satan. I mean, and it's not too far fetched. I mean, come on now. You're talking about the same people who want to dress up as ghouls and goblins, and then the next minute they want to serve Christ. Like, so one minute you believe in ghouls and goblins, the next minute you don't believe in Satan, which it's absolutely wild. Okay. So it's not even Christmas because Christ, okay, means anointed. Okay. Everyone knows that. And mass means what? Mass, let me show you. Let's see what I got. Now, in the Catholics, they call mass as the gathering of the congregation. But there's an old term, if you look it up, mass would mean the death of. Okay. It would mean the death of. All right. I'm not gonna try too far to look for it, but you can go and search for it yourself. So it would mean the anointed, the death of the anointed. That's what Christ in Mass would mean. Okay. All right. Moving forward. So putting them all together, brothers and sisters. Santa Claus. They put the child on the lap for for Santa Claus. They're giving over their children at that time to have a clause with Satan. Oh, Santa, if I get this gift. I want this gift. And Satan's like, well, I don't just give out gifts for free. I need something in return. Hmm. What comes in return? All these parents working hard for ungrateful children, or an ungrateful spouse, or a family member. My thing is, right? Why do you have to show someone you love someone at the time the world says you love them, to love them? Like Mother's Day and Father's Day and, you know, Thanksgiving and Christmas. Why do you have to show someone you love someone at these times? Why can't it be all the time? Mm. Right? So this is a stipulation, is a contract or an agreement. Santa Claus, you are binding your spirit with a contract or an agreement with Satan, whether you believe it or not. This is why the Most High said, do not be afraid of them. Okay. Because there is something very, very frightening here. Okay. Now, those are customs. For one cutteth, all right, and I'm going to break these things down, right? Now, watch this, right? It says the word cut, a cutting off or down of anything, often used as a cutting of the covenant in the sense of the sacrificial animal is cut in half, all right? Being cut, and usually cutting things wasn't good. Right? Now, it says this word cutteth means karath, okay? To cut off, down, or asunder, to destroy or consume, specifically to covenant. Gotcha. And this is what happens when people don't read all the way. You are cutting off a covenant with the Most High. Right? Hmm. Now, here's the funny thing, right? You'll cut this tree, you'll buy a cut tree, you even get a fake tree and put it up. It's the same thing, right? The whole point is to get you to be amongst this covenant destroyer, and you won't recognize the from Genesis that the Most High said, there's a tree of life, and then there's a tree of good and evil, the knowledge of good and evil. Now, if there was a tree of life, why would the Most High want you to chop it down? Think about that, right? So everything that the Most High did was meaningful, and everything He does till this day is meaningful. Why is it that we as creation make things so difficult? To cut down something means to cut apart, to destroy what? An alliance. It says, or to covenant, that is, make an alliance or bargain. Look at that. Look at that. So now the origins of this tree are about tearing apart the covenant you have with the Most High and making a new alliance with Satan. There it is. But we're not finished. It says, cut of the tree out of the forest. Okay, cut of the tree out of the forest. Well, I'm just going to go through all of these, right? Excuse me. cut of the tree out of the forest, the work of the hands. Now, an action, a transaction, activity, by implication, a product. So when you cut it out, right, it becomes a product that you make what? Business for. So it becomes someone else's property, right? And that becomes, for a part time, that becomes someone's occupation, right? There it is. There it is. The work of the hands of the workman. Hmm. The work of the hands of the workman. Now, in the books of remembrance, it did talk about the hand. We understand it has power. It's very important. Okay? And within the hand is the ordinance as well. But that's for those new heaven and earth lessons. The hand of the workman with the axe. Okay, with the axe. Now, it says they deck it with silver and gold. Now, look what that says. Someone tell me to be bright, right? Isn't that putting lights on it, right? To be bright? Yeah, you and I got it. We're on to something, aren't we? Right? Silver means they put money into it. They deck it with silver and gold. No, that doesn't mean all the time necessarily with just the color, but it also means with money. They put money into this tree to make it fine, right? To make it what? Desired, right? Hmm. You catching it? Okay, good, good. And with gold, now to shimmer, gold colored as oil, clear sky, fair weather. Now, did anyone catch what it just said? Right? Combined is the food of the house. Now make sure you leave that cookie and milk for Santa coming down the chimney, right? Coming down his furnace, right? Watch that. Silver is what? Is all about decking it with the most money and the coloring that you could do. And then gold is providing the food with it. What is that called? A food offering. When you lay food down in front of an image, it's called a food offering. Let's see. Offering. Look at that. Presenting, proposing, sacrificing, bidding, presenting to the eye or mind. That which is presented in divine service, an animal or portion of bread or corn or of gold and silver and of other valuable articles presented to God as an atonement for sin. Now, this was what they said, right? But look what it says, right? Pagan nations also present offerings to their deities. Wow, man, wow. So, offering is laying things down for someone else. And you sitting there saying that Santa is coming down a chimney and you gotta leave him milk and cookies. That's an offering. That's an offering. You're leaving something for someone. You ain't no different from the witches, right? All right, let's see. Ministry shot, I could be all right. Presenting something to a deity, a thing so presented, okay, to show, to exhibit, to bring oblation. What do? They show the milk and cookies, right? They show, some people show ham, some people show food, right? Some people, you got your cookie and you got your milk, which is your drink offering, right? You seeing this, right? That's and their exhibit. Let's check it on out. Exhibit is to offer or present to view, to hold out. Well, you hold out those things to what? Make sure that you get those cookies. Now, we all know that there is no such thing as a Santa, but we know there is such thing as Satan. So by doing this, you are teaching your children, one, it's okay to lie. Two, you're teaching your children it's okay to believe in lies. Three, you're also teaching them it's okay to not stand up for the Most High God. Because now, this right, and this is crazy. Look at this. In the word exhibit, it says to hold out, to display, show, present, and deliver. And then it says to hold, to give or receive. So you are exhibiting milk and cookies, and you are exhibiting a tree. So that way you get something in return. You are given something, right? How crazy. How crazy. Now we know Satan not giving no gifts under a tree, but he will attack you spiritually. He will also try and make things manifest in the physical for anyone who is not following the Most High, Christ, and the Holy Spirit. Right? So now this becomes just a bit more interesting. They deck it with their silver and gold, their offerings. These are all offerings. They fasten it with nails, right? Now, to fasten, to seize, to make it strong. Also confirming it, right? To continue this tradition, right? I mean, it's all in the writing. It's all there. They fasten it with nails, peg, bristle, bristling, however you want to call it. Erect it, right? Come on. I mean, praise the Most High for those of you who are following the Most High and know better. But it, I really don't know what to tell people if they're still believing this. I mean, I don't know. 12 years into this, I just don't understand. 12 plus years into this, I don't get it. Right? Erect, okay? Upright, not bending, upright, elevated, lofty, eager, alert, and so forth and so forth. Excuse me. Now, fasten it with those hammers. We went over that. Now, check this out, right? Look what it says. It says a pictograph is a picture The pictograph is a picture of the sun at the horizon and the gathering of the light. That is a picture of a tent and what is inside. Combined, these mean gather inside. So they gather in. Man, they added to perfection. They gather inside amongst this tree to sound familiar, right? I mean, it's not. It's not. It is Christmas, isn't it? I would almost think so. Let's get that word. Let me see. 1 second. Want to get that one. We'll go with the root. The root to pierce. Look at that. Look at that. So my belief is they are doing this, right? Look at this, a rotary cutting instrument, making holes, drilling. So what it's saying is, doesn't matter if it's a hammer, doesn't matter if it's a drill, a saw. When you look into the origin of these words, it's telling you exactly what it is. It don't matter. No matter if you're knocking it, you're banging it, you're drilling it, you're hanging it, reef, lights, whatever. It's all a part of it. Says they are upright as a palm tree, but speak not. You're gonna what? Speak not. And you would say, how could a tree speak? How could it? They must needs be born because they cannot go. Wait, 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 wait. Did anyone catch the detail in the word? Now, the word is nasa, to lift. Okay. Advance, arise, suffer to bear, bear up, bring forth, burn, desire. Hmm. Something, swear, which also means to promise, to steer up. Something's not right here because the Most High told us they're upright as a palm tree, but they don't speak. They speak not. They must needs be born because they cannot go. No, something just ain't right here. They they must needs be born. So something here is being almost like what you say. Um, let's see if they have the term bring forth. Because when I hear this and they, and I'm thinking of, is this a conjuring of spirits here? Is this a conjure conjuring of spirits? Is this? Oh my goodness, my brain. Now let's see. Let's see. Okay. Summoned by a sacred name, invoked by incantation or magic, to swear together, with or together to swear. Hmm. An oath, a jurist. One who practices law, one who professes the science of law, place where justice is administered. Hmm. Sacred formulas. Hmm. Originated in religious cults. Hmm. Look at this. Solemn renunciation. Heresy, originally of heresy and idolatry, later of renunciation of oaths, a denying of an oath. Hmm. Now, think about that. To swear together, I did just go over that word there too, right? To summon by a sacred name. Now, who would have thought conjure is a command, an oath, right? But let's take up this word summon. Call, send, ask for the presence of. No, I may not be the smartest person in the world, but I would believe that if you lay food down for something, you are calling for something to come in your presence. Isn't that correct? Whether you believe, we understand Santa, ho, 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 is not real, but we understand Satan is real. So it would almost be as if you're asking for Satan to bless your home with his presence, wouldn't it? Or no? Am I pushing? Am I reaching a little bit? I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, because the Most High said they must needs be born because they cannot go. Oh, what is it that they must needs be born because they cannot go? Now, look at this. Carried, born with an E is carried, sustained, and endured. So these are spirits that must be sustained. They must be carried from generation to generation to continue living. Did I hit it? It says the past tense of beer. To carry, bring forth, give birth to. These are spirits. People are more and more spirits. People are inviting into their home and onto their family. hmm. Hmm. Master Yeshua, that's why it says, "Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also it is in them to do good." So for us who don't celebrate, it won't bother us. But for them, it affects them because remember, they're making a covenant with them. They're cutting down the original one and making an alliance with, of course, Satan, right? So, how would I get all this information? Well, let's check out some videos, right? Why not? So we'll start with ancient history. Fair use.
Did you
Fair
know that
use.
people around the world celebrated the winter solstice long before Christmas? Hello and welcome to World History Encyclopedia. My name is Kelly, and for our final video, World History Encyclopedia is a non-profit.
And just fast forward this part.
The winter solstice, falling in December in the Northern Hemisphere and June in the Southern Hemisphere, is the shortest day and the longest night of the year. The winter solstice, also referred to as midwinter, is associated with the idea of rebirth of both the sun and the new year. And after the shortest day, the days get a bit longer and a bit brighter. The movement of the sun and the skies in general have been monitored by humanity for a long, long time, all around the world, especially since tracking the sun and the seasons was imperative for crop growth and agriculture. The solstice usually falls on the 21st or 22nd of December, and around this time, many different cultures throughout history celebrated midwinter and the rebirth of the sun. We also have many surviving architectural wonders from around.
Now, these people are ignorant. You call it winter solstice. You say it's midwinter. How's the sun being reborn and what? Never mind.
The globe that seem to have been constructed with the winter solstice in mind.
These people.
We're not entirely sure for just how long humans have recognized the winter solstice as a turning point, but we know it was important for heralding in the new sun or new sun god for the next year. The concept of
Crazy.
rebirth inspired the festive practice of role reversal, best seen in the festivities of Saturnalia in Rome, where the role of slave and master would reverse, and earlier in Mesopotamian civilizations. The solstice observances celebrated around the globe and through history all centered around similar themes, including light conquering darkness, renewal, new life, and rebirth, when after the shortest day and longest night of the year, the darkness would give way to the light of longer days and shorter nights. 5,000 years ago, the concept of the 12 days of Christmas was already celebrated in ancient Egypt. At Karnak on the winter solstice, the temple to the sun god was lit up as the sun rose between two of its pillars. The ancient Egyptians celebrated the god Horus during the winter solstice as a deity with associations with the sun, moon, and sky, and their festival lasted for 12 days, which reflected the 12 divisions of their sun calendar. The ancient Egyptians were keen astronomers. They observed the skies and often built monuments aligned with the sun or the stars, including the pyramids. In ancient Mesopotamia, another 12-day festival was celebrated known as the Zagmuk, or the beginning of the year. This festival reenacted the story of the battle between Marduk, representing order, and Tiamat, representing chaos, as told in the Babylonian creation myth, the Enuma Elish. In the end, Marduk defeated Tiamat and established order, which humans then helped to maintain, in part through religious festivals such as Zagmuk. Later in Rome, you see the festival of Saturnalia, which honored the agricultural god Saturn. Saturnalia activities included eating, drinking, games, partying, and merrymaking. The people's everyday lives came to a halt with businesses closing, everyone given a holiday, and informal, colourful clothing being worn instead of the usual formal toga. The cult statue of Saturn,
Now, did you hear that?
cultural god Saturn. Saturnalia activities included eating, drinking, games, partying, and merrymaking. The people's everyday lives came to a halt with businesses closing, everyone given a holiday, and informal, colourful clothing being worn instead of the usual formal toga.
Sound like your Christmas staff parties and ugly sweater days and all the stores closing, right? Oh, we're doing the same things in the world today. as we did then. Ain't nothing new under the sun.
The cult statue of Saturn had his ankles tied by woolen bonds throughout the year, but these were loosened during the Saturnalia. This act of loosening the ties of Saturn caused the deity to become associated with liberation,
And
which is a
Saturn is
common
Satan.
aspect of the Saturnalia. The social conventions and tight social structure of ancient Rome were not only relaxed, but partially reversed during this time of revelry. Although the slaves still had to make the feasts, they got to eat with their masters and be served by them.
How wonderful.
Candles were a popular gift since
Crazy.
Saturnalia was associated with the winter solstice and was a festival of light associated with the birth of the sun god Sol
Liars.
Invictus on the 23rd of December. Another culture who practiced the reversal of roles during the winter solstice was the Babylonians during their renewal festival, which was adopted later by Persians. Like in ancient Rome, the slaves and the masters switched roles, and as the year came to an end, the usual rules of living were relaxed. The concept of the 12-day winter solstice festival seen in Egypt and Mesopotamia was also celebrated by the Germanic and Scandinavian people in the holiday known as Yule. Large animals would often be slaughtered during this time, as they would have been difficult to keep fed and healthy during the winter months, and the meat was shared amongst neighbours.
Ew.
The word Yuletide, now used as a synonym for Christmas, comes from the Norse pagan winter festival of Yule, with the word tide meaning a period of time. Yuletide has been celebrated for centuries, and many modern Christmas traditions can be traced back to the Yuletide celebrations of Northern Europe. Some of these include decorating trees, Christmas trees, mistletoe, exchanging gifts, and perhaps even the figure of Santa Claus. Traditions celebrating light, renewal, and salvation, now associated by many with Christmas, were already observed long before the Christian era. During the Neolithic period in Germany, a number of circular ditches were built at a site now known as the Gossack Circle, which used to be surrounded by logs with gates and was built to measure the sun's movements. Much like at Stonehenge, on the winter and summer solstice, the rising and setting sun perfectly lined up with the gates of the monument. In Britain, you can find what is easily the most famous structure from the Neolithic period associated with the winter and summer solstices, Stonehenge. Before the stones were erected, it was used as a place for cremation burials, but in phase 2 of the construction, circa 2500 BCE, the sarsen and bluestones were placed with great precision to line up with the sun's movements on midwinter and midsummer. The stones that would have framed the sun's movements during the solstices were the most carefully worked, and the entire site was carefully thought out in relation to the solstices. So it is generally agreed that Stonehenge was a temple or structure aligned with the sun's movements, but we don't actually know what kind of rituals took place during the winter solstice at the site.
Liar.
In Ireland, one finds another and more ancient site associated with the winter solstice, Newgrange, a monument that predates Stonehenge, dated to around 3200 BCE. It may have been used as a tomb and has a long single passage leading towards the centre, which the morning sun shines directly into at the winter solstice. This phenomenon only lasts for around 20 minutes as the midwinter sun moves through the sky, suggesting the impressive level of mathematical precision in planning and building that went into celebrating the winter solstice almost 5,000 years ago. Have you ever participated in any ancient winter solstice celebrations like at Newgrange? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video,
All right. Video 1 down. So let's break it down a little bit. You heard Yuletide. Festival observed historically by Germanic peoples and primarily by neo-pagans coinciding with the winter solstice. This is what she said, right? Was later subsumed along with other pagan celebrations into the Christian holiday of Christmas. Yes, that's right. Everyone who celebrates Christmas is a pagan. Sorry, but I'm not sorry. Some modern celebrations of Yule attempt to recreate ancient traditions, while others have been adapted or reimagined to suit contemporary personal and religious practices. Yule is one of the oldest winter solstice festivals, with origins among the ancient Norse thousands of years ago. The roots are complicated and difficult to trace, which I believe that's a lie. Although there are several theories about how and why the festival was celebrated, it is generally agreed that Yule celebrations began as a Norse festival called Jol, although assessments of the purpose and traditions vary. Like most winter solstice festivals, themes of light, fire, and feasting are common threads. Some historians think that sacrifices were an important part of the observance, either to their gods or and other supernatural beings such as elves, hmm, and the dead, or both. And yes, you heard it right. If you didn't know, an elf is a demon. Okay. Look what it says. An elf is one of a race of a powerful supernatural beings. Germanic folklore. Elves are a sprite, fairies, goblins, incubus. I shared that with y'all before. That demon over the sleep, right? These are elves. Yes, the soda that people drink. Sprite is a demon. Okay. Sorry, not sorry. The truth is there. May you accept it. Also, I did want to share the the gnomes, right? Gnomes are dwarf-like earth-dwelling spirits. They put up the gnomes, they put up the elves. Come on. They just got everyone wanting to reinvoke and summon up these demons. Okay? Stay away from this stuff. The the people don't understand until you start saying, "Oh, what's a gnome? What's an elf? What's a fairy? What's a fairy? Country or home of supernatural, legendary creatures, fairyland. Okay, land of fairies, meeting of fairies, enchantment, magic, witchcraft, sorcery. Yes, I think they used to say they used to call it a pixie was a fairy. Okay, a pixie was a fairy. All right. Now, moving forward, in harsh climate northern Europe, most cattle were slaughtered because they could not be fed during the winter. Meat, therefore, was plentiful for the midwinter feast or to leave out as an offering. Some contended some contend that the original festival was a sort of Norse Day of the Dead, with the god Odin as a major player. Among Odin's many names was Jolnir, and among his many duties was acting as a god of the dead. However, this has been disputed in recent years, at least one story, blah, blah, blah. All right. And I'm not going to keep reading this, but y'all get it. Said Yule became a name for Christmas about ninth century. Hmm. In the ninth century. It was in Norway. One of the individuals who ruled in Norway, who what? The Norse celebration and the uh, Christmas celebration were merged during his reign. Mm, my oh my. And they even got cakes decorated, like the little Debbie cakes and all those little fatty cakes, you know. They do. Yeah. Yeah, we're not doing all that. We're not doing any of that. Okay. And then even the celebration of the 12 days, they on the TV and, oh, it's the 12 days before. I don't care about no 12 days. All right, moving forward. Yule, known as Yule. Okay, there was no J back then, so it was Yule. Predates Christmas. Okay. So here are some of the traditions. Many traditions we use as Christmas time were borrowed from Yule. Traditions are old, whether they are from myths, feasts, folklore, ancient beliefs, oral stories told, or festivals. We have woven them into the fabric of our modern day customs. Hmm, something the Most High said not to follow, but never mind. Do you recognize any Christmas traditions borrowed from the Yule? Midwinter feasts usually lasted 12 days. Vikings decorated evergreen trees with gifts such as food, carvings, and food for tree spirits to encourage them to return in the spring. I told you it was a food offering. Mistletoe, combined with a mother's tears, resurrected her son. What in the witchcraft? The god of light and goodness in a Viking myth. The Celts believed mistletoe possessed healing powers as well and would ward off evil spirits. In Norse tradition, Old Man Winter visited homes to join the festivities. Viking god Odin was described as a wanderer with a long white beard and is considered the first Father Christmas. The god Odin? Hmm. Hmm. Viking children left their shoes out by the hearth of the eve of the winter solstice with sugar and hay for Odin's eight-legged horse, Sleipnir. Children trapezed from house to house with gifts of apples and oranges spiked with cloves and resting in baskets lined with evergreen boughs. The Yule log was a whole tree meant to be burned for 12 days in the hearth. The Celts believed in the sun stood still during the winter solstice. They thought by keeping the Yule log burning for these 12 days encouraged the sun to move, making the days longer. The largest end would be fed into the hearth, wine poured over it. They lit it with the remains of previous year's Yule logs. Everyone took turns feeding the length of timber into the fire as it burned. Letting it burn out would bring bad luck. Sound familiar, huh? Right? Sound familiar. And they talked about Odin. Odin, okay, one-eyed old man, right? And I'll put this link in there, but I don't want to get too far on this beast, okay, Satan. All right, but I will. And if you know all the Marvel stories and Loki and Thor and all that, they're all based off of these fallen gods, by the way, these fallen angels. Okay, but anywho, let's see, because a lot of people, right, when they read these scriptures, they say this is where they usually say, "Oh, this is the only place where Christmas is," right? Well, that's completely wrong. Okay. Well, you have someone here, a minister, who reads very well. So I'm going to share. Okay. Now, I'm going to read this in verse 15. Behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket, and are counted as small dust of the balance. Behold, he taketh up the isles as a very little thing. And Lebanon is not sufficient to burn, nor the beasts thereof sufficient for a burnt offering. All nations before him are as nothing, they are counted to him less than nothing and vanity. To whom then will ye liken God? What likeness, or what likeness will ye compare unto him? The workman melteth a graven image, and the goldsmith spreadeth it over with gold, and casteth silver chains. He that is so impoverished that he hath no oblation chooseth a tree that will not rot. He seeketh unto him a cunning workman to prepare a graven image that shall not be moved. Have ye not known? Have ye not heard? Have it not been told you from the beginning? Have ye not understood from the foundations of the earth? No. Right? And so I won't read the whole thing, but you're more than welcome to, right? But I'm just getting to the point. The Most High is saying these nations would have an issue with claiming this Christmas tree. Even the poor man couldn't afford a fresh tree, so he would what? He couldn't afford fresh things, so he would get a fake tree that wouldn't rot, right? Sound familiar? It does. It says a workman melteth a graven image. So now the Most High is sharing with us. They're what? They're now learning how to make fake trees. All right. Let's look at this term libation. Right. The pouring out of wine in honor of a god. Hmm. Hmm. Wow. Really? Really? And it's not even wine, because it even says here in child, milky fluid form. During the process of digestion, it goes to pour out libation. So libation, the root word, goes to gu, which would come from that as well. So it doesn't matter. It would be just a juice, a liquid of plants, animals, whatever the case may be. Okay. Now, so this whole thing where they're making offerings now. They're making offerings. They're fixing food, right? They're doing everything they can. Now, in this case, also you see, not it would be a more so of a complete. So they're pouring out offerings, a libation. Okay, they're setting it up, and the goldsmith spreadeth it over with gold and casteth silver chains. Let's see. I'm really interested, right? I'm interested. Spreadeth over, right? With gold. Let's see if it has the same, and it does have the same. Okay. And casteth silver chains, right? Hmm. Same meaning, right? Same meaning, right? This is what? This is decorating, right? I mean, it's all in the Bible, and clearly here the Most High is not very pleased at nations and this tree that they got going on. But why isn't anyone listening? 41, 23, and 24. Well, that would read, uh, 41, Show the things that are to come hereafter, that we may know that ye are gods. Yea, do good or do evil, that we may be dismayed and behold it together. Behold, ye are of nothing, and your work of naught. An abomination is he that chooseth you. Now, look at what the Most High says about those who choose these things. Hmm. Hmm. Now, obviously, this is talking about the gods that people are worshiping, right? And people are not doing right. And so, what is, listen here, listen, think about this. Show the things that are to come hereafter, that we may know that ye are gods. Yea, do good or do evil, that we may be dismayed and behold it together. These were people, individuals who were coming against the Most High, who said, hey, we want to do something else. Hmm. Brothers and sisters, sir, keeping these holidays is not a light thing in the Most High's eyes. It says, you are of nothing. Behold, ye are of nothing, and your work of naught. Now, let's okay. Show the things that are to come. So now there was a point where people would say, hey, we're going to actually try and see what the nations were talking about. So they would believe that the tree would help manifest something, would be able to predict to them the future. Right? The mistletoe was all about, well, from what we used to know, about kissing and having a blessing on your relationship or whatever the case may be, right? Some people hear different things, right? This is what it was about. The Most High didn't like that, obviously. Show the things that are come hereafter, that we may know that ye are gods. So here you had individuals saying, hey, I want, prove to me, prove to me that you're a God, so that we can worship. And the Most High says, behold, ye are of nothing, and your work of naught. An abomination is he that chooseth you. And think about that. People, children of Israel, and people in general, the Most High says, anyone who chooseth to do these things, who chooseth to do these things, to select, to join in any of these things, is an abomination. Let's go to 44. All right, 44, 9, and 10. It says, they that make a graven image are all of them vanity. Their delectable things shall not profit. And they are their own witnesses. They see not nor know, that they may be ashamed. Who hath formed a god and a molten a graven image that is profitable for nothing? Now, if you want to read in between, you may, well, for the sake of time, and I'll quickly go through it. It says, behold, all his fellows shall be ashamed, and the workmen, and they are of men, let them all be gathered together, let them stand up, yet they shall fear and they shall be ashamed. Now, think about this, right? You know what this refers to in the times now? You know how many people go into debt because of Christmas? You know how many people go into, being evicted or being put out of their home, or maybe their cars taken or their possessions taken because they go into debt over a present, over some lights. Come on. Someone else feels like they're not loved if they don't get a wrapped gift. What? What? Come on. It says a smith with the tongs both worked in the coals and fashioned it with hammers, and it worketh it with the strength of his arms. Yea, he is hungry, and his strength faileth. He drinketh no water, and is faint. The carpenter stretcheth out his rule. He marketh it with a line. He fitteth it with planes. Right? Chisel. Okay. And he marketh it out with a compass, and maketh it after the figure of a man, according to the beauty of a man, that it may remain in the house, that it may remain in the house, that it may remain in the house. He heweth him down cedars. What is that? A tree. It's a tree, y'all. See? And taketh the cypress and the oak, and he strengthened for himself, which he strengtheneth for himself among the trees of the forest. He planteth an ash, and the rain doeth nourish it. Then shall it be for a man to burn, for he will take thereof and warm himself. Yea, he kindleth it and baketh bread. What? He maketh to a god. What? He baketh bread. He breaketh the cookies. Right? Right? Come on, y'all. Christmas is right here. It just says that word bread, lechem, is just food in general for a beast, victuals. He said he got the tree, he get the coals for the fire, he warm himself up right next to the furnace, to the chimney. Yeah, got the chair, right? You know, you know how they showed us all on TV, everybody all around the living room chimney, right? The living room fireplace come together, you know. He maketh a god and worship it. Worship, excuse me, and worshipeth it. He maketh it a graven image and falleth down to it. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wait a minute. Wait, wait a minute. Wait, y'all, y'all understanding this, right? He maketh a god. Okay, that's to what? Practice. Remember that? To practice. Tradition. He maketh a god. Okay. And worshipeth it. Oh boy. To depress, to prostrate, to reverence. That means honor. Let's check out these words, y'all. Almost going to that word shakath. And you know, shakath means the bottomless pit. Anywho, let's check out these words. Okay. Depress, Put down by force, conquer, to press down, to lower, to crowd, compress, push down physically, press down, move downward, lower in feeling. Let's see some more, y'all. Prostrate, homage to royalty or God. Prostrate, lying face down at the length of the ground in submission, supplication. Supplication. Ah, ah, hmm, okay. Right? Oh boy. Look, look, look. Some people pray around the Christmas tree. This was talking about a plea, a public prayer with your family around the Christmas tree, even for Thanksgiving Day, showing you that this supplication is a prayer over the holiday. Listen here. Y'all remember in Isaiah chapter 1 where the Most High says, what? What did he say? Let's get there. Bring no more vain oblations. Incense is an abomination to me. The new moons and Sabbaths, the calling of assemblies I cannot away with. It is iniquity, even a solemn meeting. Your new moons, your appointed feasts, my soul hateth. They are trouble unto me. I am weary to bear them. And when you spread forth your hands, prayer, I will hide my eyes from you. Let's see, let's see, let's see. Right? You spread forth your hands, and we know that is the form of prayer. Your hands. Let's see if they share it. They do not. I will hide mine eyes from you. See that when ye make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. See that? Most High doesn't, he's not involved in these uh these holy days, these holidays, these holidays that people so desperately want to attach him to. Right? Now, he falleth down there too. Isn't that something? It says he burneth part thereof in the fire, with part thereof he eateth the flesh, he roasteth the flesh, and is satisfied, yea, he warmeth himself and saith, ah, I am warm, I have seen the fire. And the residue thereof he maketh a god, even his graven image. He fall down unto it and worshipeth it, and prayeth unto it, and saith, deliver me, for thou art my God. I mean, you might as well. I mean, you didn't put Christ to the Christmas tree, which you you can't put anything in there. You man, listen. There's no logical biblical way you can tie the Most High to these pagan holidays. There's not one. There's not any way. It's not even possible. And if it wasn't for the sake of trying to save people, I wouldn't even say anything. You know why? Because it's always the people who come with opinions who feel like they know something, right? Oh, well, we've been doing this and it's nothing wrong with this. And, show me. And then when you show them, they don't believe you. I'm not wasting my time. I am not going to waste my time. And brothers and sisters, this is the season for complete evil to get even worse. Watch their 2024 is going to be a very bad year. Just watch. And you thought this year was a surprise. It's going to be crazy next year and the following year after. So buckle up and get yourself together. All right. If you still worshiping Christmas and you still think about it, cut it out. Hey, you want to do something special for your children or your brother or your sister or your mother or your father, get them a gift every pay period. Just say, hey, I was thinking about you. Every pay period, every month. Hey, it's not much. Maybe it's a card. Maybe it's a souvenir or something. Hey, maybe it's a phone call or something. Hey, give them a $5 gift card, something. Hey, I just want to let you know I was thinking of you. Why it's got to be one day? Anyone who, and this is what I was thinking, right? Anyone who called me during a holiday or try and reach out to me during the holiday, you do not love that person. That person does not love you. Okay? Believe that. Why do I say that? Because if that same attitude isn't applied throughout the rest of the year, then they don't love you. They're just in the spirit of evil because they want to gossip about you and about what your life is like during their pagan times of 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 the dinner table and talk about what you should have did or what you could have did better. And we're not gonna put ourselves in no predicament to be the laughing stock lest the most high come against that whole family because of you, because they want to do evil, right? So just excuse yourself. You don't want to follow the most high. Everyone's got a choice. Everyone's got agency. You gotta live with it, right? Moving forward. So you're seeing now, Christmas is a little bit everywhere. It's in the Bible. The question is, why haven't people been paying attention? What they've been reading. Now, look what the Most High says. I'll start from right here, verse 18. It says, for thus saith the Lord that created the heavens, God himself that formed the earth and made it, he hath established it. He created it not in vain, he formed it to be inhabited. I am the Lord, and there is none else. Amen. I have not spoken in secret in a dark place of the earth. I mean those rocks that those people will be going in to get those ideas and stuff. I said not unto the seed of Jacob, seek ye me in vain. I, the Lord, speak righteousness. I declare things that are right. Amen. Assemble yourselves and come, draw near together, ye that are escaped of the nations. They have no knowledge that set up the wood of their graven image and pray unto a God that cannot save. Hmm. Hmm. Now, let's read this again. Assemble yourselves and come, draw near together, ye that are escaped of the nations. They have no knowledge that set up the wood of their graven image and pray unto a God that cannot save. Well, I don't know, but I'm thinking that sounds like, huh? Right? It's that Christmas tree, right? We just We're just gonna ignore that. I mean, it's right there. I mean, come on. How can we ignore it? Isaiah 46 and 7. It says now, let, let, let- it says, we'll go. Verse, we'll go verse 1. Bel bowed down, Nebo stoopeth. Their idols were upon the beasts, and upon the cattle your carriages were heavy loaden. They are a burden to the weary beasts. They stoop, they bow down together. They could not deliver the burden, but themselves are gone into captivity. Hearken unto me, O house of Jacob, and all the remnant of the house of Israel, which are born by me from the belly, which are carried from the womb. And even to your old age I am he, and even to hoar hairs will I carry you. I have made, and I will bear. Even I will carry, and will deliver you. To whom will ye liken me, and make me equal, and compare me, that we may be like? They lavish gold out of the bag, and weigh silver in the balance, and hire goldsmith, and he maketh it a god. They fall down, yea, they worship. They bear him upon the shoulder, they carry him, and set him in his place. He standeth, from his place shall he not remove. Yea, one shall cry unto him, yet can he not answer, nor save him out of his trouble. Now, this is talking about statues, okay? But people do the same thing over Mary. They do the same thing over the false images and of Christ, the false images of Mary. They do the same exact thing. This is the time where people are going to be marrying and talking about Christ and manger and all that. And I wish people knew the story behind why they were in the manger, rather than the understanding about some men who were coming to falsely bear gifts like they always use. Because maybe they would show a lot more respect to Christ, knowing that they were fleeing Herod because he had put out a decree to kill Christ. But hey, I guess Christmas is the most important, right? I mean, never mind. Now let's before I keep moving forward, right? Let's go to our next video, the origins. Fair use.
Exclusive benefits in return. Your support helps us create video. Scandinavia has a rich cultural heritage, and Norse mythology has a rich. Check it out via the link in the top corner of the screen or via the Patreon link down below. Scandinavia has a rich cultural heritage, and Norse mythology, which was once simply their religious belief system, has continually fascinated and influenced others for centuries. The days of the week in English come from Norse mythology: Tyr's Day, Woden's Day, Thor's Day, Freeman's Day. And their beliefs and traditions also influenced many of the Christmas traditions we celebrate today. The word Yuletide, which is now used as a synonym for Christmas, is a word from the Norse pagan winter festival of Yule, and the word tide meaning a period of time. Yuletide has been celebrated for centuries by the ancient Germanic people, including the Vikings, and similar festivals were also celebrated by the Celts. And although the rituals of Yuletide and the winter solstice have mostly fallen out of practice due to the rise in popularity of Christianity in Europe, Many of the traditions associated with the period are still around. In fact, you can find the word Yuletide in popular Christmas carols like Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas and the Christmas Song. Thousands of years ago, the Celts celebrated 8 different religious festivals throughout the year. 4 solar festivals, winter solstice, spring equinox, summer solstice and fall equinox, and 4 seasonal festivals, each marking a significant seasonal change.
Sound familiar?
Yule was celebrated between December 20th and 25th, the winter solstice and the shortest day of the year. And it was believed that during that time, the new sun god for the next year was born. Trees in Celtic traditions were sacred since they were considered the homes of deities and spirits. So at Yule, a tree was decorated outdoors. People would gather and sing songs around it, and gifts were offered in honor of the birth of the sun god.
Say what? We're gonna take that back. What did they do?
God for the next year was born. Trees in Celtic traditions were sacred since they were considered the homes of deities and spirits. So
Of spirits. That's exactly what the Most High said, isn't it?
Yule, a tree was decorated outdoors.
Tree was decorated outdoors. Didn't they do that in New York and different places, right?
People would gather and sing songs around it,
Christmas carols, right?
and gifts were offered in honor of the birth of the sun god.
Gifts were offered in the birth of the. And Christ is not even born in December. Never mind. Y'all worshiping Odin.
Songs sung to the sun god became Christmas carols, celebrating Christ's birth after
Well,
Christianity
well,
became the
well.
dominant religion in the region. And
Wow.
gifts exchanged in honor of the old god came to honor the new Christian deity. With the tree decorating, there was also a bonfire, where the fire symbolizes rebirth of light, fertility of land, and new beginnings. The bonfire included the Yule log, and people would gather around the log, sing their songs, and throw a piece of holly into the fire, which symbolized the challenges of the year past and hope for better fortunes in the year to come.
Pagans.
A piece of the Yule log would be saved to start the next year's bonfire, seen as a symbol of continuity.
Nasty.
Vikings and Scandinavians in general decorated evergreen trees with carvings of the gods, runes, clothing, and food. These items were thought to ward off evil spirits and encourage brighter ones to visit the home because they honored the gods.
Encourage brighter spirits to visit their home. What did I tell you?
This tradition continues in people placing cherished objects and sacred images on an evergreen tree, such as figures of angels or putting a Christmas crèche beneath the tree.
Didn't the Most High. I'll just not on this.
The wreath, which is still often seen hung on front doors, was a Yule celebration, but the Vikings would make a huge one, or a number of smaller ones, known as a sun wheel, and then set it on fire and roll it down a hill in the belief it would entice the sun to return. The sun wheel also represented transition and transformation, as it would burn out, but another would be rolled after it. Storytelling at Christmas was also influenced by the Norse, who regularly told ghost stories at this time of the year. Ghosts were thought to be especially active around the winter solstice. And
you ever notice that they're always making horror movies, also not only in Halloween time, but Christmas time as well? Anyone notice that? Oh, okay, never mind.
People told stories to help others be alert to the possible dangers. The telling of ghost stories at Christmas became a regular aspect of the holiday, which is why, in case anyone ever wondered, Charles Dickens featured 3 spirits in his popular work, A Christmas Carol. Easily one of the most famous ghost stories of all time, A Christmas Carol follows in the tradition of the telling of such tales at Christmas time. The famous 12 Days of Christmas is also a Norse tradition, in that it was believed that Odin, the king of the gods, rode across the heavens for 12 nights during this season of the midwinter feast.
My foot.
Which lasted 12 days from the winter solstice. Odin was associated with wisdom and gift giving and was also a fatherly figure, and is thought to have contributed to the later development of the character of Santa Claus, traveling the world in a single night dispensing gifts. Another tradition associated with the 12 days of Christmas is that you weren't supposed to hang out laundry between the winter solstice and the 2nd of January because Odin and his party of riders could get caught in it and wouldn't be very happy with you. This was known as the Wild Hunt. After the Christianization of the myth, instead of Odin leading the hunt, it was the devil. And even nowadays in Germany, many people still don't do laundry during this time.
So Odin is who? The devil. Whose birthday is it on the 25th? The devil. Who are you celebrating with gifts for? The devil. Who are you laying cookies and milk out for? The devil.
Even though they don't necessarily know why, they just know it has something to do with bad luck and death. The Christmas ham is also associated with Norse traditions, as it was believed that in Valhalla, the afterlife hall of heroes presided over by Odin, there was a magical boar roasted daily to feed the spirits of all present. At the end of the meal, the boar would regenerate to be roasted again the next day in
Ham for the spirits.
preparation for dinner. The ham came to symbolize plenitude, but also a welcome to any guest who might be hungry or need a place for the night, and is still served at Christmas as a welcoming gesture to family and friends.
I don't want nothing.
Another famous Christmas
Nasty.
tradition that comes from the Norse is kissing under the mistletoe.
Ugh.
This practice derives from the myth of the death of the god Balder. In this story, Balder and his mother Frigg are troubled by bad dreams regarding his death, and after consulting with a seeress in the afterlife, they find out that he is to die soon. Frigg goes all through the 9 realms of existence and gets a promise from everything, animate and inanimate, that they will not harm her son. After this, the other gods develop a game of throwing things at Balder to watch them harmlessly bounce off him. Loki, the trickster god, watches this and decides to cause trouble, and so goes to Frigg disguised as a female traveller, and in the course of casual conversation asks if it's really true that all things promised they would not harm Balder. Frigg innocently replies that she never asked the mistletoe because it was so young and innocent and could never hurt anyone. Loki swiftly finds the mistletoe, puts it into the hands of Balder's blind brother to throw at him, and Balder is killed. In one version of this tale, Frigg decrees that people should kiss under the mistletoe to ensure it is never again used as a weapon.
There it is.
Another, Frigg's tears at the loss of her son fall on the berries of the mistletoe, turning them from red to white, and ensuring the eventual return of Balder. The mistletoe then came to represent transformation, renewal, and the triumph of life over death. All Christian values which came to be associated with mistletoe once Christianity replaced ancient Norse beliefs. What is your favorite Christmas tradition? Let us know in the
Pagans, pagans, pagans. But if I share this, I'm wrong. 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians 8 and 4. Yep, 8 and 1. Now, as touching things offered unto idols, we know that we all have knowledge. Knowledge puffeth up, but charity edifieth. And if any man think that he knoweth anything, he knoweth nothing, yet as he ought to know. But if any man love God, the same is known of him. As concerning therefore the eating of those things that are offered in sacrifice unto idols, we know that an idol is nothing in the world, and that there is none other God but one. For though there be that are called gods, whether in heaven or in earth, as there be gods many and lords many, but to us there is but one God, the Father, of whom are all things, and we in him, and one Lord, Yeshua, Christ, by whom are all things, and we by him. Howbeit there is not in every man that knowledge. For some with conscience of the idol unto this hour eat. It is an for some with conscience of the idol unto this hour eat it as a thing offered unto an idol, and their conscience being weak is defiled. But meat commendeth us not to God. For neither if we eat are we better, neither if we eat not are we worse. But take heed lest by any means this liberty of yours become a stumbling block to them that are weak. For if any man see thee which hast knowledge sit at meat in the idol's temple, shall not the conscience of him which is weak be emboldened to eat those things which are offered to idols? And through thy knowledge shall the weak brother perish from whom Christ died. Now, I'll finish this. But when ye sin so against the brethren and wound their weak conscience, ye sin against Christ. Wherefore, if meat make my brother to offend, I will eat no flesh while the world standeth, lest I make my brother to offend. Now, there were some things interjected in here, that's for sure. One, because meat is not referred to as meat. Meat is food, okay? And we know this from the Gospel of the Nazarenes, where Christ did not eat anything of the flesh. Um, Now we do know fish was, you know, used, but everything from the Garden of Eden was more so the diet, all right, of all the people of the Bible. And henceforth, uh, for example, Esau was the one who went out for the hunt, right? Uh, Anywho, now the emphasis of this is verse 4. Now we know the Bible tells us you cannot sit at the table of the Lord and at the table with idols, sacrifice unto idols. So this would mean what? You do have to make a stand, right? You do. Okay. This is why we know that some things here were tweaked. We know this because we know that we can't go and, sit with Satanists and have Christmas with them. I mean, they're going to celebrate Christmas, but should we? No, because we know the truth. Should we eat with them too? No, because Christ didn't participate in these things. In fact, the Most High called us to be separated from the world, not to sit amongst the world and eat with them. Because if you sit down and eat with them and you go and teach with them, what would that do? They would use the scripture against you and say, "Oh, well, how are you going to teach me when you're sitting with me and eating with me?" Right? That's how, you see what I'm saying? Then they would call you a hypocrite for not standing by the word, right? And oftentimes people do this. So, brothers and sisters, I want you to understand we are, this is a time where you want to like refrain from people giving you things, uh, you know, in the spirit of their holidays, right? Let's look at this word, sacrifice. Okay, as an expression of thanks. So it doesn't just always have to mean, you know, a food. It can be an expression of thanks, a devotion, okay, surrender, or giving up. Okay. It could be a gift, right? Now, that's all in the Christmas spirit. If it's given for another reason, okay. If they give something to you, they are aware that you don't celebrate Christmas and you're serving the Most High, all based on how they give it to you, what they give you, and when they give it to you, and what they're saying it's for. Okay. Always, if someone's going to give something to you, this is what it's saying. Okay. You don't have to necessarily deny people, but something that is offered in the respects to their holidays, to their holidays, those things we must refrain from. Okay. First Corinthians 12. It says, and I'll read from verse 1. Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Know ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols, even as we were led. So there was a point, brothers and sisters, where we were all led to all this kind of evil. And even some people are coming out of this, praise the Most High. But do understand, brothers and sisters, don't be deceived. If this is coming, these are two scriptures that are tied together, idols and spiritual gifts. What does that mean? You do not receive any spiritual gifts while participating with idolatry. That's it. This is what this is telling us. You do not, you do not receive spiritual gifts while dealing with paganism and idolatry. Prove me wrong. No one can prove that wrong. I don't care what anyone says. We can't. Well, now you may say, oh, well, the Most High was dealing with Abraham. Well, brothers and sisters, we are not Abraham. And even still, Abraham had to put away all those things. And then he gave him promises. Then he gave him blessings. He didn't get blessings until he put away his old man, his old lifestyle, right? And that was more so of denouncing his father, right? And the evils and the paganism that he did. Read that in the book of Jasher. All right. And Habakkuk, Old Testament prophet, 2 through 18, 18. It reads, what profiteth the graven image that the maker thereof hath graven it? The molten image and a teacher of lies, that the maker of his work trusteth therein to make dumb idols? Woe unto him that saith to the wood, awake, to the dumb stone, arise, it shall teach. Behold, it is laid over with gold and silver, and there is no breath at all in the midst of it. Now, I want you to check this out. Woe unto them that saith to the wood, awake. Now, listen and watch. To clip off to spend the harvest season. Okay. Now, watch this because some people celebrate it in summer in June, some people in the winter. That word awake to the dumb stone, the end of something or to make an end by cutting it off. Look what it says, to awake literally. Abruptness and starting up from sleep. To awake literally. See that? To awake. To the dumb stone, silent and stone. Now, here's what people don't understand. When the Most High is saying, awake, woe unto him that saith to the wood. Now, they're asking for something. Awake, arise. They're asking for something. Now, you tell me this, right? It says to wake again. So awake and arise does not mean the same thing. Awake is first, you as the person. Arise is talking to the object. The person awoke from their sleep because they were ecstatic for the gifts. Okay. Behold, it is laid over with gold and silver, and there's no breath at all in the midst of it. Okay. Now look at that. Laid over means surprise. They awake because of the surprise of gifts. You see that? The surprise of seeing the cookies and milk gone, right? Look what the Most High says. What profiteth the graven image that the maker thereof have graven it, and the molten image, and a teacher of lies? Parents, you have been a teacher of lies to your children. That's why they awake and put so much hope in Satan. They put so much hope in believing that Satan is something special. This is why children grow up believing in lies, because traditions, the parents are the first teachers. You're either going to teach your children the truth or you're going to teach them lies. And I will also share this, not teaching your children at all is also lying to them as well. Teach them the truth, because if you don't, Satan will do it. And Satan will not teach the truth. He will call good evil and evil good, and that will be Satan's truth. Okay. Look what the Most High says here. He is disappointed with the world keeping this holiday, this holiday. This is a pretty big holiday if he's going to keep talking about it, isn't he? Isn't he? Come on now. Pay attention. Pay attention, brothers and sisters. It's not too hard. Hey, and pray, like I said, praise the Most High. Y'all are in the truth. Praise the Most High. Okay. And for those of you who are on the fence, Leviticus 23. There you go. Acts 17 and that Leviticus 23 is really the base, because we know the books of remembrance give us the full sight. Acts 17 and 29 says, for in him we live and move and have our being, as certain also of our own poets have said, for we are also his offspring. For as much then as we are the offspring of God, we ought not to think that the Godhead is like unto gold, or silver, or stone, graven by art, or man's devices. In the times of this ignorance, And at the times of this ignorance God winked at, but now commandeth all men everywhere to repent, because he hath appointed a day in the which he will judge the world in righteousness by that man whom he hath ordained, whereof he hath given assurance unto all men, in that he hath raised them from the dead. And when they heard of the resurrection of the dead, some mocked, and others said, We will hear thee again of this matter. So, brothers and sisters, there's a point where the Most High is just like, I'm going to give you mercy. But look at the things that's going on in the world now. Judgment is here, and the year of recompense is unfolding. You don't want to be on the wrong side of that, I can assure you. I can assure you. I will share with you all quickly. I will put all these things in the links. Okay, just if anything that y'all may feel like y'all want to see there. Okay, Krampus. Y'all will understand Krampus. And the will of the year, I will include this. All the whole holidays of the world that they really celebrate and try and tie things into. Okay. There's some crazy stuff in here. And then Odin, aka Lucifer. But anywho, let's go on to our last video. 7 dark Christmas traditions. Fair use.
He sees you when you're sleeping, and he knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good. So be good, for goodness sake. You better watch out. And you better not cry. In most Western countries, the most a badly behaved child can expect at Christmas is not receiving any gifts or a lump of coal. But what about in other countries around the world? From a cult-like celebration that surrounds a skeleton horse demon to an annual festival that celebrates a homicidal witch. These are 7 dark Christmas traditions around the world. Welcome to a special Christmas edition of Shadow Matter, and in our own Shadow Matter way, we will celebrate Christmas by exploring 7 of the darkest Christmas traditions around the world. It's that time of year again, when countries the world over celebrate that special day on December the 25th by giving and receiving gifts and spending time with their families. Most have a fairly sanitized version of Christmas that they celebrate with normal traditions that we in the English-speaking parts of the world are accustomed to. However, in other parts of the world, things can be a bit more dark and frightening. So without further ado, let's explore 7 of the darkest Christmas traditions around the world. Pierre Fouettard, French for Father Whipper, is a character who accompanies St. Nicholas on his rounds during St. Nicholas Day, December the 6th, and dispenses corporal punishment in the form of beatings to all the naughty children. He is mainly known in the far north and eastern regions of France, in the south of Belgium, and in French-speaking Switzerland. Although similar characters exist all over Europe, the whipping father was said to bring a whip with him to spank all the naughty children who misbehaved. The most popular story about the origin of Pierre Fouettard was told about the year 1252. An innkeeper, or a butcher in other versions, captures 3 boys who appear to be wealthy on their way to enroll in a religious boarding school. Along with his wife, he kills the children in order to rob them. One gruesome version tells that they drug the children, cut them into pieces, and stew them in a salting barrel. St. Nicholas discovers the crime and resurrects the children. After this, Pierre Fouettard repents and becomes St. Nicholas's partner. A slightly different version of the story claims that St. Nicholas forced Pierre Fouettard to become his assistant as a punishment for his crimes. The most common depiction of Pierre Fouettard is of a man with a sinister face, dressed in dark robes, with scraggly, unkempt hair and a long beard. He is armed with a whip, a large stick, or bundles of switches. Some incarnations of the character have him wearing a wicker backpack in which children can be placed and carried away. Sometimes he merely carries a large bundle of sticks on his back. These malevolent goblin-like creatures originate from the Southeast European and Anatolian folklore. The Kallikantzaroi are said to be goblins, of which they spend most of the year underground, trying to bring about the apocalypse. Stories about the Kallikantzaroi, or its equivalents, can typically be found in Greece, Bulgaria, Turkey, Serbia, Albania, Bosnia, and Cyprus. The Kallikantzaroi are believed to dwell underground, but come to surface during the 12 days of Christmas, from December 25th to the 6th of January. In the Greek folklore, it is believed that the Kallikantzaroi stay underground, sawing the trunk of the world tree so that it will collapse along with the earth. However, according to folklore, when they are about to see the final part, Christmas dawns, and they are able to come to the surface. They forget the tree and come to bring trouble to the mortals. Finally, on the Epiphany, 6th of January, the sun starts moving again, and they must remain underground to continue their sawing. They see that during their absence, the world tree has healed itself.
World tree, tree of life. Never mind.
Must start working all over again. This is believed to occur annually. There is no standard description of appearance of the Kallikantzaroi. They are regional variations as to how their appearance is described. Some Greek illustrators have imagined them with some animal parts, such as hairy bodies, horse legs, or boar tusks. Other groups see them as small humans with a horrible odor. They are predominantly male, often with protruding sexual characteristics. Many Greeks have imagined them as tall, black, and hairy, with burning red eyes, goats' or donkeys' ears, monkeys' arms, tongues that hang out from their heads that are huge. Nonetheless, the most common belief is that they are small black creatures, humanoid, apart from their long black tails, and said to resemble little black devils. They are also mostly blind, speak with a lisp, and love to eat frogs, worms, and other small creatures, such as children. According to Alsatian law, Hans Trapp was a local man, renowned for his greed and unscrupulousness. He used witchcraft and deals with the devil to become rich. After becoming excommunicated from the Catholic Church, he lost his wealth and social standing. He took to roaming the countryside, disguised as a scarecrow. At some point, Hans Trapp became consumed with the idea of tasting human flesh. He lured a shepherd boy to his death, then cooked him over a fire. Before Hans Trapp could take his first bite, however, God, finally feeling that things had gone too far, struck him with lightning. Hans Trapp died, but he returned sometimes on Christmas to go from door to door, looking for young, tasty children. Icelandic Christmas folklore depicts mountain-dwelling characters and monsters who come out to town during Christmas. The stories are directed at children and are used to scare them into good behavior. The folklore includes both mischievous pranksters who leave gifts during the night and monsters who eat disobedient children. Grilla is a giantess with an appetite for the flesh of mischievous children, whom she cooks in a large pot. Her husband is lazy and mostly stays at home in their cave. The Yule Cat is a huge and vicious cat who lurks about the snowy countryside during Christmas time and eats people who have not received any new clothes to wear before Christmas Eve. Grilla, the giantess, is first mentioned in 13th century texts such as the Icelandica saga, but not explicitly connected with Christmas until the 17th century. She is enormous, and her appearance is repulsive. The oldest poems about Grilla describe her as a parasitic beggar. She walks around asking parents to give her their disobedient children. Her plans can be thwarted by giving her food or chasing her away. Originally, she lived in a small cottage, but in later poems, she appears to have been forced out of town and into a remote cave. Current-day Grilla can detect children who are misbehaving year-round. She comes from the mountains during Christmas time to search the nearby towns for her meal. She leaves her cave, hunts children, and carries them home in her giant sack. She devours children as her favorite snack. Her favorite dish is a stew of naughty kids, for which she has an insatiable appetite. The Yule Cat, a huge and vicious cat who is described as lurking about the snowy countryside during Christmas time and eating people who have not received any new clothes to wear before Christmas Eve. He is the house pet of Grilla and her sons. Although referred to as an ancient tradition, written accounts of the Yule Cat have only been located as recently as the 19th century. The threat of being eaten by the Yule Cat was used by farmers as an incentive for their workers to finish processing the autumn wool before Christmas. The ones who took part in the work would be rewarded with new clothes, but those who did not would get nothing and thus be preyed upon by the monstrous cat. Mari Lwyd is a Welsh custom found in South Wales. The tradition entails the use of an eponymous hobby horse, which is made from a horse's skull, mounted on a pole and carried by an individual hidden under a sackcloth. The custom was first recorded in 1800, with subsequent accounts of it being produced in the early 20th century. According to these, the Mari Lwyd was a tradition performed at Christmas time by groups of men who would accompany the horse on its travels around the local area, and although the makeup of such groups varied, they typically included an individual to carry the horse, a leader, and individuals dressed as stock characters such as Punch and Judy. The men would carry Mari Lwyd to local houses where they would request entry through song. The householders would be expected to deny them entry, again through song, and the two sides would continue their responses to one another in this manner. If the householders eventually relented, the team would be permitted entry and given food and drink. The Mari Lwyd itself consists of a horse's skull that is decorated with ribbons and affixed to a pole. To the back of the skull is attached a white sheet, which drapes down to conceal both the pole and the individual carrying this device. On occasion, the horse's head was represented not by a skull, but instead made from wood or even paper. In some instances, the horse's jaw was able to open and close as a result of string or leather attached to it. An observer of the tradition as it was performed during the 19th century noted the preparation for the activity was a communal event, with many locals involving themselves in decorating of the Mari Lwyd. Frau Perchta is a witch who comes to see who has been naughty or nice. She slits the bellies of the bad children and stuffs their corpses with straw. Perchta, or Berchta, was once known as a goddess in Alpine paganism in the Upper German and Austrian regions of the Alps. In some descriptions, Perchta has two forms. She may appear either as beautiful and white and snow like her name, or as elderly and haggard. In many old descriptions, Perchta had one large foot, sometimes called a goosefoot or swanfoot. In the Tyrol, she appears as a little old woman with a very wrinkled face, bright lively eyes, and a long hooked nose. Her hair is disheveled, her garments tattered and torn. Perchta emerged from an amalgamation of Germanic and pre-Germanic, probably Celtic traditions of the Alpine regions after the migration period in the early Middle Ages. Initially, Perchta was the upholder of cultural taboos, such as the prohibition against spinning on holidays. In the folklore of Bavaria and Austria, Perchta was said to roam the countryside at midwinter and to enter homes during the 12 days between Christmas and Epiphany. She would know whether the children and young servants of the household had behaved well and worked hard all year.
Look familiar? Look familiar? Okay, good.
If they had, they might find a small silver coin the next day in a shoe or pail. If they had not, she would slit their bellies open, remove their stomach and guts, and stuff the whole with straw and pebbles. She was particularly concerned to see that girls had spun the whole of their allotted portion of flax or wool during the year. She would also slit people's bellies open and stuff them with straw if they ate something on the night of her feast day other than the traditional meal of fish and gruel. The cult of Perchta, under which followers left food and drink for Frau Percht and her followers in the hope of receiving wealth in abundance, was commended in Bavaria in 1468. Later, canonical and church documents characterized Perchta as synonymous with other leading female spirits. Today, in Austria particularly, where she is said to wander through Hohensalzburg Castle in the dead of the night, the Perchten are still a traditional part of holidays and festivals such as the Carnival Fastnacht. The wooden animal masks made for the festivals are today called Perchten.
Crazy people.
Krampus, from the German word meaning claw, is a horned anthropomorphic demon-like figure that originates in the Central and Eastern Alpine folklore of Europe, which predates Christianity. In traditional parades around December the 5th, Young men dress up as the horned demon and attempt to scare the audience with their masks. Although Krampus appears in many variations, most share some common physical characteristics. He is usually hairy, brown or black, and has the cloven hooves and horns of a goat. His long, pointed tongue lolls out, and he has fangs. Krampus carries chains thought to symbolize the binding of the devil by the Christian church. He thrashes the chains for dramatic effect. The chains are sometimes accompanied with bells of various sizes. Of more pagan origins is the root, a bundle of birch branches that Krampus carries and with which he occasionally swats children. The birch branches are replaced with a whip in some representations. Sometimes Krampus appears with a sack or a basket strapped to his back. This is to cart off evil children for drowning, eating, or transportation to hell. Some of the older versions make mention of naughty children being put in the bag and taken away. The Feast of St. Nicholas is celebrated in parts of Europe on the 6th of December. On the preceding evening of the 5th of December, Krampus Night, or Krampusnacht, the wicked hairy devil appears on the streets, sometimes accompanying St. Nicholas and sometimes on his own. Krampus visits homes and businesses. The saint usually appears in the eastern right vestments of a bishop, and he carries a golden ceremonial staff. Unlike North American versions of Santa Claus, in these celebrations, St. Nicholas concerns himself only with the good children, while Krampus is responsible for the bad. Nicholas dispenses gifts, while Krampus supplies coal and the root. In recent years, the Krampus has become a bit of a problem, with the costumed individual's tendency to get drunk, getting into fights, and destroying property. Thanks for watching.
All right. So, brothers and sisters, I tell you, all the knowledge is there. And I leave you all with this, brothers and sisters. Acts 17 and 29. For as much then as we are the offspring of God, we ought not to think that the Godhead is like unto gold or silver or stone graven by art or and man's device. In the times of this ignorance God winked at, but now commandeth all men everywhere to repent, because he hath appointed a day in the which he will judge the world in righteousness by that man whom he hath ordained. Wherefore he hath given assurance unto all men, and that he hath raised him from the dead. With that being said, brothers and sisters, don't live in ignorance. Live in the knowledge and wisdom of the Holy Spirit, and the knowledge and wisdom of the Most High and Christ, and the doctrine of the gospel. Say no to paganism. Say no to traditions and rudiments of the world, elements of the world. Say no and make a stand for righteousness, because the time is nigh, brothers and sisters, and we do know that there is a appointed time where Christ and his angels will come. We just don't know the hour. With that being said, I love you all. And never make a clause with Satan. Only keep the covenant with the Most High. Shalom.